there from the off. And also that kind of stuff just got, I should have done it, could have been a contender, I should have done it back when I had the idea about it, like so many things. And it's funny because in some ways I feel like the world, like when I started out I was in the minority, and turning up at a venue and talking to a taciturn sound engineer and showing him your mini disc player was often met with a kind of disbelief, or I'm not saying I was the first person to do this by any means at all, but you know, I would usually be in the minority. And when I started having a web presence, again, you know, I was cajoled into it by those who could provide it for me, and you know, many thousands of musicians and so on had a website long before I did. But it was sufficiently back in the day for me to have had a blog for several years before I learned what the word blog meant. So I unselfconsciously called it my online diary. And of course, these days that would be, you know, like it's like calling your car your automobile, or your something like that. So in addition to sort of the online diary and stuff, the fact that I had a video camera since sort of '97 or something, and had obsessively kind of filmed myself bulbsing on about nothing. With the advent of YouTube, I was able to kind of put all this stuff online, and with the kind of whole flowering of the web 2.0 thing, the social networking, the MySpace, what have you, has come to mean that first off you saw a whole wave of musicians kind of embracing this, musicians primarily, and then it became just, you know, the deluge of just like of everybody, you know. So now the same conversations that I first grew weary of hearing myself having with people, and then grew weary of hearing from other people, and now they're not MySpace conversations between musicians, they are Facebook conversations between my more normal friends. And the whole, one's online life, you know, has become something that I've embraced, but also maybe have, not that I'm the most webby person in the world, I really am not. I don't, a lot of the nuts and bolts stuff passes me by, and I'm not the first person to take up things. I don't read the web widely enough in some ways. A lot of staggeringly big pieces of culture kind of pass me by before I get to them, web-wise. But nevertheless, it's been long enough for me to feel like I've got a bit of perspective on it, and long enough for me to be in the game, to kind of like maybe assess the pros and cons thereof. Now, I've noticed for various reasons that, well, once everybody's playing it, it doesn't quite have the same meaning. So, if it was true back in the day that it was all grist, and that my little story about what I'd done that day might have some kind of intrinsic value by its unusualness or something, this ceases to be the case when every fucker lives in that world. And when everybody makes music in their bedrooms on their computer, it's less of a thing. And that's kind of one aspect of it. The other aspect is, it started to kind of creep me out a bit about who you are online. And I've started to notice a peculiar kind of shame associated with one's online self. I think it's something you might recognise. It's that feeling of posting something to a message board and then regretting it. It's not just that, but that's a kind of like most common manifestation. But if you think about, like, if you are a blogger, you're not only like saying a dumb thing that somebody can misinterpret on a board, but you're kind of, you know, the trouble with being a blogger, you're your own editor as well as everything else. And you can write funny things. And indeed, you can film yourself waffling pretentiously and post it to YouTube and then just get shot down by some fucking lunkhead who's like God knows where, usually in the United States, if only because we share a common tongue, I suspect. But, and